What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on RotoGrinders. Happy to be with you talking golf, and we haven't been together too much over the last couple months with the break in the short off season and then the Ryder Cup last week. And obviously, Noto and I are big golf fans, and certainly had plenty of conversation about the Ryder Cup, and we'll do a little bit of looking back at that here at the start of the show. But I am Justin Van Zuiden, STL Cardinals 84. I've got, as mentioned, Derek Farnsworth, aka Notorious, alongside. Noto, what's going on?
Yeah, it's good to be back. Good to be back on a regular sleeping schedule. Were you able to make it through the night watching the Ryder Cup, or did you wake up
No,
early?
I did wake up a little bit early. So a couple of the days I woke up at like 4:30. A dog got me up or whatever, and then I just kind of watched it laying down for a couple hours before I got up. So caught most of it except for the two the first half of the two early morning sessions, but it was a bloodbath there the first couple days.
Yeah, I was planning to stay up, and then once 2 hours in, both mornings, U.S. was just getting smoked. So I was able to get a little bit of sleep, and then wake up to U.S. making charges in the afternoon, and unfortunately it wasn't enough. They did make a run on Sunday with the singles, but man, a lot of mistakes on the U.S. side, I think.
Yeah, I don't think Zach Johnson's selections are going to be received very well. Obviously, hashtag results oriented, but a lot of the decisions were just kind of head scratching. Not having guys in there, what you would think, having guys playing four balls that you'd think would be better at foursomes and vice versa. But, it's easy to say that after you get waxed. But, the captain selections at the very beginning, there was some question mark with those. And, we talked about it for a couple months that the odds were just crazy, too crazy high on the Euro side. And so at least I won a little bit with that, and betting the European team to win outright when they were like plus 165 a couple months ago, and that wasn't even as it was higher than that for a while. And then by the time they teed off on Friday morning, it was basically a pick 'em. So but I certainly didn't expect it to be basically 4-0 by the time I woke up the first day. So strange. You buying anything into the US team kind of being fractured, or is that kind of a media thing? I know there's been a lot kind of being made of that over the last couple of days.
Well, the European team's certainly a lot closer. They don't mind playing with anybody. They go by the numbers, the analytics, they trust them, and their captains say, hey, this is why you guys are going to go out and win, because you guys play well together, whatever it may be. And U.S. side is just buddy, and it doesn't matter if you're playing bad or well. You're going to go out with your friend, and I don't know. And then you obviously have the Cantlay Xander stuff. I don't really blame them for wanting to get paid for this, but can we not figure it out like a year before, 6 months before? Like, everything happens the week of, and it's just really hard to go overseas and just get it done when there's just so much else going on around them.
It's just surprising with them too, because they tend to play so well together in the team events, and I get it in this day and age, right? And what pride for the country has become a different definition of that, I guess, these days, without getting political on anything here. It's a different animal these days, and it's hard to say what's actually going on behind the scenes, and people wanted to make a big deal out of Cantlay not wearing the hat. I don't know. It feels a little bit manufactured, some of that stuff. And obviously there's probably some friction in a few spots, but the European team gets another win. So it'll have to be 34 years for the U.S. team to win on European soil if they want to try it again in 2027. So I like the course, though. I thought that was a nice course for a Ryder Cup type setting.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. If you hit a good drive, you're probably going to have a good birdie look. And if you didn't, you were going to be scrambling for par. So I loved the course, loved how many risk reward holes there were. U.S. just, man, that first day, Europe was making everything. They were chipping in, they were holding long putts. And then there in the afternoon session, looked like the U.S. was going to get 3 points and three holes in a row.
To get it right back.
3 holes in a row, all in 18. Just a long putt from Hovland, long putt from Victor, and then I think Homa missed a short one, and Rose made his Yeah, and that was a big swing. And then obviously the next morning didn't help either.
Say it's been a pretty good 3 months for Victor Hovland. It's just incredible the way that he's been playing golf. And, I know he and Aberg dominated a few of the doubles matches, but I mean, Hovland was carrying that group for the most part. So impressive to say the least. And speaking of Aberg, he is the only player from the Ryder Cup rosters that is coming right back to tee it up again this week, and he's our most expensive golfer. So we'll get to him in a second. But yeah, Europe ends up coming away with the victory. Any other takeaways from your side that you want to mention here before we shift gears?
You mentioned Zach Johnson. The pairings weren't great, the captain's picks weren't great, and the interviews were even worse. I mean, he just got smoked day one and saying how proud he is of his guys, and then making an excuse that they're all sick, and then the next morning saying nobody's sick, everybody's fine, and then it was just really weird. He just didn't seem to, I don't know, just grasp the situation. Then he talked Jordan Spieth out a hidden driver on the drivable par 4. I don't know if you saw that, and then he took the 3-wood, hit it right in the water. Just a lot of questionable decisions on his part. And also, I really wish the U.S. would play together in an event, kind of like Team Europe did with the BMW Championship, because most of the guys didn't play for 5 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, and obviously that rust showed a little bit, and we had a few guys play the week before, but it was only Homa and Thomas, I think, played at the first fall event and then went over. So just not a good week overall for Zach Johnson and for the U.S. team. And we'll see him run it back here in a couple of years and see what happens then. So, but for now, we need to turn our attention back to the DFS landscape, back to the fall swing. We're going to get a little bit of a groove here with the next 3-4 weeks with the events that we're used to seeing around this time on the calendar. So we've got the Sanderson Farms Championship this week. Used to be an event that was an alternate event next to like one of the WGCs back when those were a thing. But for the last 3 or 4 years here, the Sanderson Farms has gotten its own status as its own event. But, it tends to be held in this time frame right after the Ryder Cup or right after the President's Cup to where we don't necessarily see the strongest field. It seems even a little bit weaker this year. What do you make of this field strength and what do we have for a course this week?
Yeah, well, the field strength isn't great. It is a lot of guys that we've come to know over the years. A lot of guys who like the roster that are now 9 and 10K. So it should be fun. Mr. Gerg in the chat, Jaeger Chalk week, Jaeger Bombs week. Certainly we'll talk about him shortly. But yeah, Country Club of Jackson, par 72, over 7,400 yards. So really long course. A lot of the holes are dead straight and the fairways are pretty narrow and there's not a lot of tree trouble. So you're going to see a ton of drivers. We've seen really good drivers of the ball win here in the past. Cam Champ, Sergio Garcia, Sam Burns. And I was looking at Data Golf's course fit tool, and I've never seen the little slider, be so high on driving distance compared to driving accuracy. So definitely more of a bomber-friendly course. The greens are Bermuda grass. Scrambling's not too difficult. Pretty much got to make birdies. And much like a lot of these, swing season events, you're just going to make birdies, make putts. And but I do think it's a good week for driving distance.
Yeah, we've seen the winning score here every year be like 18 under or better, I believe. You're probably going to see it get into the 20s this week, even with the weaker field. I mean, this is always, but when it was an alternate event, it was, an extremely weak field. So you're just going to see lots of birdies. I agree on maybe playing the bomber angle, the birdie maker angle this week. Guys that are in good form. I mean, it's just going to be make birdies or go home. So trying to get as many guys through the cut this week as possible is definitely paramount. And should be a fun week getting back into our normal fall swing. So totally agree on the metrics there. And we can probably go ahead and start diving in. We've only got 4 golfers above 10K on DraftKings this week. And it starts with Aberg. I suppose we can talk about, it's not like we're not going to have like 90 viable guys this week. It's the pool does get pretty thin towards the bottom. So we can take our time, I guess, going through these top ranges. And it starts with Aberg. So interesting, obviously coming off the high of that Ryder Cup victory. Right now, we've got him projected as the highest owned golfer in the field. Obviously, he's going to grade out well in terms of if you just take the circumstantial stuff out of it. What do you make of Aberg in this spot?
Well, if we didn't play in the Ryder Cup last week, I think it'd be a perfect course for him. Just mentioned driving distance being a big deal this week, and he's obviously been in great form. But man, it's hard for me to click that button at that ownership. I got to think he partied pretty hard with the rest of Team Europe after their win, and now he has to travel halfway across the world, adjust to the time difference, show up to a course that he's never played before. He's talented enough to get it done, but I don't think I'm making him a priority myself.
Yeah, same here. I would guess that ownership will probably go down because I think that narrative is going to make the rounds this week. And I might be interested if he ends up in that 10, 12, 14% range, but he's not going to get that low. We've got him at 32 now. Maybe you split the difference somewhere in there. He ends up in the, mid 20s or something like that. But that's still probably a little bit too steep for me, given the kind of letdown factor, the travel, the jet lag that'll probably set in. You're playing in a part of the country where it's still going to be really hot. And I guess you can, make the narrative say whatever you want it to say if you're trying to find excuses. But I'm kind of lukewarm on Aberg this week. And again, it's not like he was carrying Hovland. It was kind of the other way around for most of those pairs matches last week. So that leaves us with Cole, Grillo, and Jaeger as the 10K plus options. Never thought we'd kind of see Jaeger in this mix as basically, one of the most expensive guys in the field. But hey, we've been on Team Jaeger on this show for a couple years, so it's paying off now. And Jaeger is 10.4K for the first time ever. So Jaeger, Cole, Grillo, who you got if you're not playing Aberg?
Yeah, I like Jaeger quite a bit. He's made 14 straight cuts. We've been rostering him for a couple years now. He's a bomber. He's got really good irons as well. And I did a show with Jason Sobel earlier today, and he was saying that they did an interview with Jaeger, and he circled this tournament for one that he thinks he can win. So do with that what you will. We kind of saw that work out with Matthew Fitzpatrick at Harbor Town. Not that he's the same level player as Matthew Fitzpatrick, but I like the form. He's got 3 top 30s here in the last 4 attempts. And yeah, I don't mind the price point. Certainly no issue with Grillo. My second favorite's probably Eric Cole. He's just a grinder, man. He comes out here. He competes every week. Even when it looks like he's going to miss the cut, he ends up battling back. He's been a top 30 machine. And this is one of those courses where driving accuracy doesn't matter that much, and that's really his only weakness. He's pretty much solid throughout the bag other than the driver. So I do like Eric Cole quite a bit, but Jaeger is probably my favorite.
Let's see. All right. Yeah, I'm pulling up some of the data here myself. So if you want to go off course history, Grillo, 5th here last year, has made the cut all 4 times. Jaeger, 26th and 30th the last 2 years. And I was really surprised when it was looking through the last season's worth of logs. And, I know we kind of joke about Jaeger here on the show and, how he was kind of a pretty strong mid-range option for much of the summer. But I wouldn't have guessed, without looking at the logs throughout the year, that he only had 3 missed cuts and 30 starts. That's real impressive. I mean, to be making the cut 90% of the time you're out there, 9 top 25. So, really good year for Jaeger last year, and certainly wouldn't be surprised if he keeps that momentum rolling here into the fall swing. So I think we're going to kind of rank those guys the same. Jaeger is my favorite as well. No problem with the other 2, but Jaeger would be the one that I would prioritize in here. Anything else on those top 4 guys?
Don't think so. I'm not ready for Aberg to come out and just smoke me again. But hopefully he has that hangover, whether it's a literal hangover or figurative one.
Can you explain to me why Lucas Herbert is $9,600? Well, I know everyone feels overpriced, but why is this guy? I mean, why?
My model certainly doesn't understand. I have him as like the 23rd best option in the field. So, yeah, I'm not sure why. I don't know what he does well other than putt. And, yeah, I don't have a strong take on him. He doesn't even have good course history. He missed the cut here in his only appearance.
Yeah, so we're out on Herbert. That one's fairly straightforward. Noto was the Bo Hostler whisper a few weeks back. And I've got to ride. So a couple of my guys in this tier, it's been far too long since I've liked Keith Mitchell in an event. I was shocked that he's missed the cut here, the only 2 times he's played here, but this is a great course for Keith Mitchell. He leads this field. If you just go off the 2022, 2023 stats, Mitchell leads this field in driving distance. He can sometimes get a little haywire, but that's not going to hurt you too much on this course. In theory, this is a great course fit for Mitchell, even though he's missed the cut the other 2 times he's been here. I hope that scares people away. So I'm in on Keith Mitchell this week. And then if you want to take my other guy, the guy who leads this field in ball striking over the last 36 rounds and tee to green and strokes gained total, 5th off the tee, that's Doug Gim. So the putter has been a little better, and as in not horrible. So I'm going to stand by my 2 guys there. Mitchell more so than Gim, but we've got Gim as the lowest owned guy in the 9Ks. So I don't mind that. But I really like Mitchell this week. So those are my 2 guys. I'll leave Bo Hostler to you if you want to conduct that train again this week. But I like Mitchell. I like Gim in the 9Ks. What are you looking at?
Yeah, certainly no problem with either of those. I've seen a lot of smart people bet Mitchell this week. And then you mentioned the ball striking for Doug Gim. He's kind of a leading member of Team No Putt, which we are a big fan of. So I like those picks. I do like Hostler. He's a guy with plenty of distance, not very accurate, but that's not a big concern. And he's finally gaining strokes with the irons. I think he's gaining 3.7 strokes over his last 2 starts. So if that continues, I do like him a bit. And then I think Adam Svensson's going to be pretty popular at 9K. He kind of, checks the boxes in terms of all the stats and pretty good form coming in. I think he's got 5 straight top 40s with the 7th place finish during that stretch. So I like him, but I do worry about him getting steamed up a bit. Not a ton of interest in S.H. Kim. Do you have a take on him?
Yeah, I don't. Svensson would be my 3rd option in here. So S.H. Kim, I don't have a strong take one way or the other. I just like the other guys that I mentioned a little bit better, and I'll have some Svensson as well, and can't play everybody in here. So yeah, Kim probably gets squeezed out for me.
Yeah, same.
All right, let's see. And Svensson, we talked about him. I like him as well. We go down into the 8K range. Some interesting names in here. We can just kind of start at the top. You are also a lead conductor of the Mark Hubbard train most weeks. You got Alex Smalley in here, Tom Hoagie, Sam Ryder, K.H. Lee. What are you liking in here?
Yeah, I like Hubbard, and it looks like 3 of us have him tagged in lineup HQ, which is a good sign. He's been in good form in the summer and in the fall. T5 here last year. He's not very good off the tee, but everything else is elite. One of the best iron players in the field, really good short game. And one of my favorite bets of the week as well. You can get him at top 40 at BetMGM, minus 135, and they include ties in their top 40 bets, which is not the case at any other book. So I did place a little wager on that if anyone wants to join me. Other 8K options, Ben Griffin at 8,400. Similar to Eric Cole, he's just one of those guys that I like taking in these weaker field events. He's been pretty good on long par 72s. He made the cut here last year, T24. Who are some of the guys you like in this range?
Yeah, not a lot in here for me. I think the 7Ks I like quite a bit. I'm with you on Team Hubbard, so we both have him tagged this week. I don't mind Alex Smalley, but I mean, those guys are at the top of the range. You're not getting a real discount there. And then the next, 5 or 6 guys, I don't have a whole lot of interest in Garrick Higo or Davis Thompson or Hodges here. So to me, this is a range I will skip over a fair bit. Interested though, potentially, I mean, can Luke List make enough putts, enough like 4-footers? In theory, if we're just going to take the bomber angle, like Luke List has to be able to be semi-competent this week, right?
I like Luke List on difficult courses where like -8 is a good score. You
don't think he can make enough birdies to get to?
I worry about the putter when the winning score is in the 20s. But
I worry about the putter every week with him, but I don't know. You mentioned you've never seen the slider down there so far for driving distance, so that just screams Luke List.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to play him, I get it. He missed the cut here last year. Other than that, T26 in 2018. I just haven't played a lot of him since he won the Farmers a couple years ago. But yeah, I do like Davis Thompson a little bit. He's been a little bit better of late, very long off the tee, good ball striker, and he's played here twice, made the cut both times. So a guy that I think he played here as an amateur once, and then T67 last year.
All right. And by the way, for those of you who happen to be watching us live, I know we don't get as many live viewers this time of year with football going on and the Tuesday night taping and stuff. And a lot of you watch us on playback. I've been waffling back and forth on whether or not we should bring back the snake draft tonight. Obviously, we wouldn't be able to do the 12-man, but if we get a 6-man, if you are watching us live and you would be interested in doing a snake draft tonight, just post something in the YouTube chat so that I know that we can potentially get 6 people. I don't want to be waiting around for 20 minutes, trying to see if we can fill one. So if you're interested, put something in the chat and we'll see if we want to bring that back. Still waffling until I see if we get any responses. Anything else above 8K? I guess I don't mind Davis Thompson, but nobody that just kind of stood out as a wow play in that lower part of the 8K range for me.
Yeah, I think that's it for me too.
All right, we go to the upper part of the 7K range. We've got a lot of guys who were at some point good. Davis Riley was good for about 4 months one time. Alex Noren was pretty good once upon a time. Sam Stevens had a pretty good stretch during the summer. Mackenzie Hughes has been good, off and on through the years. And the Woos had a pretty good stretch during the summer, but nobody in this upper part of the 7K range or really else throughout the field here is super consistent. You're going to get some good. You're going to get some bad with these guys. Who do you like in the upper part of the 7K range?
Well, don't leave out Nicholas Lindheim. He's been playing great. It's been mostly on the Korn Ferry Tour, but battled some injuries the last couple of years. Played 9 events this year, 9 of 9 with a win and 4 other top 10s. And the one event that he did play on the PGA Tour, he gained 5.6 strokes with his approach. So I do like Lindheim quite a bit, 7,900. Looks like he's going to be pretty low owned, 2%. That might come up because he is rating out really well in data golf stuff, and that tends to drive some ownership. But I like Lindheim quite a bit. Alex Noren rates out well, but he's been so up and down. That worries me. Apparently, this is a home game for Davis Riley. He's from Mississippi, I guess. So if you want to play that angle, I don't mind it. Then I like Dylan Wu. He's been really consistent over the last 6 months. And maybe Nate Lashley as well.
I think Akshay is one of my favorites in this range. I'm surprised that the ownership isn't. I mean, he kind of tends to be a DFS darling, if you will. And so the ownership under 10%, I think he can get it out there off the tee as well. I think he's a really interesting tournament option if that ownership kind of sticks. Don't mind Sam Stevens at 7,700. Agree with your call on Lindheim as well. I mean, this is the fall swing is a little bit different now than it used to be, right? We used to have all these guys that had just got their cards and graduated up from the Korn Ferry Tour, and you'd see 30 new guys in the field this week or 25 or whatever it was. But now the way they've redesigned it and they're going back to a calendar year schedule, this portion of the schedule is just for the guys who finish from 50 to 125 to improve their status. Again, you kind of need a flow chart to analyze this stuff, but we don't see quite as many guys just up from the Korn Ferry Tour at this time of the year compared to what we have in past seasons. For those of you that might be wondering about that. As we kind of go further into the 7K range, 7,400 I think is a really interesting price point. My 2 favorites are going to be Nick Hardy and Peter Quest. I know we're going to have some overlap here, but Peter Quest is another guy super long off the tee. I think this is a great course for him. Nick Hardy, I went and dug through Nick Hardy's summer results, and his best tournament finishes were 3 top 20s at the Rocket Mortgage, the John Deere, and the Byron Nelson. All 3 of those events had winning scores of 21 under par or better, and he was top 20 in all of those. So Nick Hardy tends to show up in these weaker field tournaments. So Hardy and Quest are two of my favorites as we get to the middle to bottom part of the 7K range. What do you like in here?
Yeah, to your point on Hardy, he rates out as the 8th best guy on easy par 72s over the last 2 years. So definitely likes these easy courses. I'm on board with Hardy. I like Peter Quest as well. Remember, he was like 9K in pretty decent fields a few months ago, and we were happy to pay for him. So one of the better drivers of the ball, can be hit or miss, not very good around the greens, but guy that can make a ton of birdies. And then I do like Callum Tarrant as well. Kind of a nice mix of course history and form. He finished T7 at the Fortinet a couple weeks ago, was T13 here last year, and he's another bomber that makes a lot of birdies. So those are my 3 favorites there.
Who was that? Who was that guy you were just referencing there? I didn't catch it.
Callum Tarrant.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's another guy that's had some good results like the first part of last year, then kind of tailed off for a while and got a little bit better later in the summer. He tends to be pretty streaky.
Very streaky, one of my favorite showdown guys because he can go real low or make a lot
really
of
bad.
Yeah. Other people in that range, I like Kevin Yu. I think he'll be pretty popular. He was T19 here last year. If you look at his game log, he loses like 5 strokes putting a week, and then he'll just randomly gain 7 strokes putting. It's very weird. Most bad putters, it's like a slow bleed with the putting, but he's got some spike weeks in there in the positive direction. So I do like that. Anyone else in the 7Ks? Carson Young's always a name we like for cheap.
Did you mention Buckley?
No, I don't. He rates out well for me though.
Yeah, but Buckley, we've got some ownership there as well. I don't mind him. Sam Bennett, I think, is probably my favorite when you factor in likely ownership in that range. You could go with some of the veterans, like, guys like Neesmith and Martin Laird, like they can put up a couple low rounds here or there. Like when you get down here, when you get below like 70, I think you is pretty safe. Once you get below that, though, you're just getting a lot of risk reward guys, which I think is fine in tournaments. I'd probably end like a single entry or cash game build, probably 7,300 at the lowest. But I don't mind mixing in Carson Young, Neesmith, Laird, Robbie Shelton even. I mean, I think these guys are like they can put together a few low rounds, and it's all just gonna be about making birdies and getting hot at the bottom end this week. So I don't mind some of those guys because it really thins out once you get below 7K. You just get there's some blasts from the past down here this week. You have any conviction on anybody else?
I don't think so. There's guys that project okay, but nobody that I feel good about clicking on.
Yeah, I mean, I see your boy Kevin Roy in the field this week.
Always, yeah.
The guy that always seems to pop in these hammer the ball and see what happens courses is Trey Mullinax.
Yeah. How's he been lately?
Yeah, he's been hit or miss. In his last two trips here, he's got a T4 and a miscut. So that's probably about his range of outcomes. T4 or DFL. I mean, those are both on the Family Feud board for Mullinax, for sure. So he'll probably be the YOLO guy in my player pool this week. He is 6.9K. Will Gordon is 6,900. I see Hondizel always gives me a wild one every week to try to hunt down. He's got a tag on Henrik Norlander at 6,700. That's the one I wouldn't have expected this week. Let's see. I know Sobel doesn't mind Doc Redman as a bottom end play. So, I mean, those would be a couple of guys that you could potentially sprinkle into like mass multi-entry builds, but I don't really see a need to get crazy down here. Let's see.
I'm with you. Brandon Matthews is like the 3rd longest guy in the field, but he's missed 7 of his last 8 cuts, so not great.
Yeah. And again, don't get crazy and try to like include 10 of these guys in your player pool, but if you find 1 or 2 that you like, feel free to throw them in. Is this just there's about 40 guys. Heck, there's probably about 60 guys priced at 7K or below. It's just crazy how many names you see rolling through here that were like good not that long ago. Like Lanto Griffin was pretty good not that long ago. Adam Long had a spell a couple years back. You got Kisner down here. Horrible course fit for Kisner. Don't play him.
Hoffman.
What's that?
Charlie Hoffman.
Charlie Hoffman. Kevin Chappell. I think Kevin Chappell was injured for a long time. Sung Kang down here. I mean, it's just bringing back memories here for a few years. A lot of red in lineup HQ though, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of that page. So, all right, we have not gotten a lot of response in chat for the snake draft. I don't think we probably got enough to fill that. A little bit of a shorter show here tonight with a weak field fall swing event. I mean, you're going to see that with a few of these fall tournaments. Just not a lot of depth in the field, so ownership's going to concentrate maybe a little bit more than normal on some of those good higher end plays, and you know you're going to have a lot of 0.5% owned guys at the bottom of the list. Anything else that's come across your mind here before we wrap it up?
So I was thinking we only had a couple events left, but we got events for the next 5 or 6 weeks, including we actually going back to Japan for the Zozo. I'm excited about that. And then there's a tournament in Los Cabos. That'll be fun. So yeah,
the week there is 1 week off after the Zozo, which is a little bit strange. There's 1 week with no tournament. So we've got the Shriners Children's Open in Vegas next week. That's a common stop this time of year. Then the Zozo in Japan that you mentioned. They've played that in the States the last few years because of COVID. More restrictions in Asia during that time frame, but that's going back to Japan this year. Then a week off, then the tournament in Cabo, and then the Bermuda Championship, and then the RSM the week before Thanksgiving, which kind of closes things out for the year. So that will be the schedule up ahead. I think we've pretty much gone through it. I will not have too much trouble getting to a narrow player pool this week, which I always like anyhow. So, all right. Anything else, Noto? Otherwise, we'll call it a wrap.
No, thanks for watching. Hop in the Discord, and good luck this week.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate Steve producing behind the scenes for us. Even our head producer, Devin, is hanging out in the chat on his night off. So thanks to Devin for hanging out with us. And thanks to all of you for watching. Even if you're watching us on playback, we do appreciate it. Thanks for checking the show out. Hit the thumbs up button if you're watching. Help us stay on top of that YouTube algorithm. And we'll catch you back here next week. Same time, same place. Good luck in all your lineups this week, everybody. For Noto, I'm Justin, and we'll catch you all later.